I want to kind of go back to the basics and go back to the foundations and just ask like a really simple question. What is a woman? And because I have been continuously pregnant for the past 3 years, that's something that I've thought a lot about. And it's something that I've become very proud of in a way that I probably hadn't before, in a way that I probably hadn't thought about before, the uniqueness of a woman. Now, that probably seems, or it would have seemed even just a few years ago, like a ridiculous question. What is a woman? I think everyone knows what a woman is, but now that's a question that's very contentious. Isabel mentioned that. I'm sure other speakers have too. What is a woman? What is a definition of a woman? Now, there is literally half the country that cannot answer that question, that very basic question. Is it just a declaration? Is it a feeling? Is it pronouns in your bio? Like, is it just something that you identify as on any given day? Is it wearing a dress and heels? It's simultaneously a lot simpler than that, but it's also more complex than that. It's simpler than that in the sense that our biology tells us what we are. This idea of our sex and our gender identity being separate, being independent, is actually not a scientific idea at all. It's a very mystical, mythical idea. And so it's very simple in that we know that we're women based on our biology, based on our DNA that was decided at the moment of conception. But it's also a little bit more complex than that. And before I explain that, let me just say something like really basic that I know it might even be controversial in this room. I don't know. But if we as conservatives are not willing to conserve the most fundamental, basic fact of life, the scientific difference between a male and a female, then the conservative movement has no business calling itself a conservative movement. If you are not conservative enough to conserve that, if you are not courageous enough to defend that, like I said, the most fundamental, basic fact of life, the most obvious fact of life, then you're not going to be courageous enough to defend the more controversial issues. So if conservatives can't conserve what it means to be a woman, then we have no business calling ourselves conservatives.